Hey guys, Matt here with Carolina Coops, and in this video what I want to do is show you a step-by-step on how to install your heated water system. So if you're watching this video, it must be you purchased it from me, so thank you very much for that. And my goal is going to be to make it as easy as possible for you, show you some tricks maybe, and maybe some troubleshooting. So let's go ahead and get started. Now what I've already done is, for the heated water system, you're going to have a rain barrel and a base. You're going to have a water bar. Right here is going to be our pump. Over here, you're going to have what's called a therm cube, and you're going to have a bag of parts, a 1000-watt heater, all right, and 2 stainless steel hoses. Now what I've already done is I've taken the barrel and base that is most likely going to be drop shipped to you out of the boxes, and what I'm going to do is start with setting this up. Now I did notice that this is one of our older barrels. The heating element, that is 1000 watt, we actually just changed, just got bigger. So you're going to notice most likely you're going to have a screen part that's going to be a lot bigger. We changed that so that the heating element will fit in there, but since we do have this barrel, I'm just going to go ahead and show you how to do that. So we're going to take a Phillips head bit. You can use a regular screwdriver, screw gun, whatever works for you. We're going to take these screws out, take the screen off. You'll notice it's very important, hardware inside, so that's what we're getting at. This has actually been sitting out in the sun, which is good. That's going to come off nice and easily. And down inside is going to be your hose bib. We're going to go ahead and open this up. In the package will come some Teflon tape, your hose bib, and some instructions. That's what I'm here for. So take your Teflon tape and your hose bib. Very important, you've all probably heard it, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. We want to make sure as we're tightening anything that we're going to thread with Teflon tape. In this case, if you're looking at it this way, you're going to want to go clockwise. That way when you put it in, it doesn't kind of backlash the tape. Just maybe 3 or 4 times going around. It does help seal it, helps lubricate it. Now we got, in this case, brass going to plastic. Make sure you don't cross thread. Don't try to force it. Just by its own weight, it should go in just like that. Because it's plastic, it could be softer, it could be misleading. That's it, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and close that in case I forget. So now I'm going to bring the barrel back up. Now, here's one of the tricky parts. If you have a rain barrel with, again, the large rectangular opening, you're going to appreciate that you don't have to do this step. Basically, we got to put this 1000-watt heater in through this hole. And what I have done is I'm going to use a sharp knife. If you got tin snips, hopefully it's sharp. You could use whatever. But basically, I'm just going to cut a slit. I don't want to go bigger than what the screen's going to be. And it's only going to be about, I don't know, maybe 3/4 inches wide. And one thing I just learned, I've never done this where the barrel's been sitting out in the hot sun. That just cut like butter. Okay. And then you have to come back here. Okay, I think that should work. Might have to make it a little bigger. We definitely don't want to break the heater. Just want to get it down in there. Just work it slowly. There we go. And that's it. Done this a couple times. I have to admit, again, what I am absolutely thrilled with is how easy that was because the barrel's been sitting in the sun. So, and then the other thing I like about this little slit here, gives a little escape for your cord. Alright, so what I just did is I brought the base over and the the barrel. And one thing I want to talk about is a question we get a lot is where should I put it? Now, in this particular situation, we have one of our own Coops, and this one is a 18-foot long, 8-foot wide American Coop. And it is actually very important, the placement of the heated water system. Now with our Coops, when we assemble our walls, we have a double board here when the walls come together, and I try to take advantage of that for the downspout. So you have plenty of wood to hook your straps for that downspout, and you can bring the downspout over and turn it directly into the barrel. Other things that we have done and customers have done is actually use a diverter, where the water will go down the downspout, hit the diverter, some of the water will be fed right into the barrel, and then the downspout will continue. In this case, we're not doing the gutter or the downspout, the customer is, and they're just going to turn it and angle it. We are on the east side. I always recommend, when possible, try to keep your water system on the east or north side to keep it out of the sun as much as possible. So what I'm going to do is, there's a nice flat spot right here. And I'm going to drill a hole, again, 3/4 inch bit. I'm sorry, 3/4 inch spade bit. And, you know, don't have to be, you obviously don't want to go too high. You want it as high as possible. Keep it in center between here and that flat spot. And then, you'll have this package of hardware. Go ahead and open that up. And you're going to grab one of the brass fittings, and the one we want is what's called a 3/4 male hose thread. That's that side, and on the other side is a 1/2 inch iron pipe thread. So we're going to take that male iron pipe 1/2 inch thread, and we're actually just going to start turning and forcing it into the barrel. A tool to have on hand, the crescent wrench, will be very handy, especially when it starts to bite. Because this is not under pressure, you don't have to have a nut on the back side, you don't have to seal it. It actually, we tested it, and it does actually stay watertight. Alright, so what I'm going to do real quick is put in the 4 horizontal nipples, and each hole has been tapped. And what you want to do is just grab your nipples out of the bag, and notice that it is tapered. And that's actually what's going to waterproof it. Just like the other things, we don't want to cross thread it. You do not need Teflon tape on this. It will seal. So just go ahead and twist it in, righty-tighty. And don't over tighten it. If you do, there is a tendency for them to snap. And so you don't have to go real tight again. Because it's tapered, it will seal. And this part on the bottom of the nipple is what I call the bill. And that goes towards the bottom. So anyways, so we're going to continue on. I'm just going to put the rest of the nipples in. If you ever put one of these in and it's constantly leaking, what happens is on the back of this stainless steel trigger, back here, there's a little rubber washer. All that is a one-way valve, a check valve. Make sure that's nice and clean. If a little bit of debris gets in there and doesn't allow it to shut all the way, water's going to leak past that. So they're super easy to, turn the water off your barrel, kill the water, take this out. Make sure the O-ring's not missing, make sure it's nice and clean, and then screw it back in, you'll be back in business. So I got all the bills toward the bottom, and actually what we'll also do right now is let's open up this little small box. Inside is going to be your water pump. Inside the box is the pump. Should look just like this. And another thing of Teflon tape, and your AC to DC transformer. This is what's going to get plugged into the thermostatic switch here in a little bit. I am going to take another one of the brass fittings, again that has the 1/2 inch iron pipe. Take a little bit of Teflon tape with it facing you like that. Go ahead and go clockwise, and so we don't backlash it, 4 or 5 times. Alright, so we're going to take this brass fitting and we're actually going to put it on what I'll call the left side of the water bar. This will be our discharge end. So thread it in the bushing, take your crescent wrench. Don't have to kill it, you don't have to get it real tight, but get it nice and snug. The next thing you can do, this is very critical, this part. Please note that arrow. That has to point into your water bar. That is the direction of flow for the water. If you get that backwards, the system's not going to work. So what we're going to do, grab your Teflon tape, we're gonna put some Teflon tape on each of this will be the inlet side of the pump. We're gonna turn it around. We're gonna do the same thing to the other side. Okay. And again, note that arrow. So water's going this way. So now what I can do is I'm gonna take the other end of the water bar, the inlet side, and this will thread right in there. Careful not to cross thread it. I'm not sure if that's a trick or not, but I'm spinning the water bar instead of the pump. Guess I never noticed I did that before, but kind of makes sense. And again, the bills are going down, so this is up. I want the bottom bowl part of the pump pointing down. And then take this brass fitting. This has the female 1/2-inch iron pipe, and that is going to go on the inlet side of your pump, just like that. Take your crescent wrench, get it snug, and you're all right. So we're inside the run, and what we're going to do now is install the water bar. And with horizontal nipples, what I recommend for your standard to large breeds is you want it to be about chest height for your chicken or chickens. So I usually just eye it, but I thought let's get technical. Yeah, let's say it'd be about 12 inches. So, you know, I'm sure you have a range you can work in. So I guess we go about 12 inches. And again, in our particular situation, we want to split the difference. We're splitting the water bar, or I'm sorry, the barrel on the outside, so that our return lines will be of equal length, if you will. So we're going to be right about there. So what I'm going to do is, in your package of hardware, you'll have a couple straps. Now, every situation might be a little bit different. In our situation, we have these 1/4 inch, technically roofing screws, so they're exterior rated, and they do a really good job holding it. Also, we have the lath screws that might be Phillips head. So whichever you have, Phillips head or 1/4 inch, I'm going to go ahead and get the water bar about where I want it. All right there. And I'm not going to get it real tight yet, just enough to hold it. And then I'm going to take my second strap, which will go over here. Now, with the heated water system, here's another critical step. If you have a torpedo level or any kind of level, grab that. But basically what we want is, because this is the inlet side, and when the pump kicks on, we're going to be forcing water through. We don't want an air gap. We want to make sure the pump stays primed. And an easy way to make sure that happens is just pitching it up based on the level. You know, I'm just getting that bubble just a little bit past that line on the high side, and we have found that is more than enough. Okay, and then go ahead and put in the 2 screws for the bottom, and again, keep it loose. You'll see why here in a little bit. All right, so there's the water bar. Again, make sure your bills are down at the bottom. So this is gonna be up, that's gonna be down. And the next part, which is a little bit of the scary part, is we gotta cut into the screen. And we wanna make sure we do it exactly the way I'm about to do it, because we want the least amount of opening for the hoses to get through. All right, so what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna cut the screen for the hose. And I know that when this is on, this is about where I wanna be. And this 90 is where it's gonna come through the screen. So I'm actually seeing where I wanna cut it and be able to come into the water bar when I make my connection. Now, the way I do it is I take a set of side cutters, and I'm going to cut that right there. I'm going to come on this side. And it's basically 2 by 3 like that. And think it's actually easier to do this on the outside, but basically you push it through like that, and then what you can do is push all these wires back in and then feed that through. And again, this is why I wanted to keep the water bar loose, so we can slide it. It gives you plenty of wiggle room. For being able to make that connection and get it all lined up perfectly. So now I'm going to do the same thing. And again, what I'm looking for is where this 90 is going to come through the screen. And it's going to be right about there. So I'm going to cut it here, here, and let's just go here. Now I suppose you could do this from the outside, but I just find it easier to do it from the inside. And then connect this here. And then I like to push the wire back into the crimped little fitting area of the water bar. Or I'm sorry, of the stainless steel hose. Alright, now that we have our hoses connected, we can go ahead and tighten in the water bar. And you know what I'm looking for is just keeping the bills, they don't have to be perfect, but level coming out. You definitely want to make sure your straps are snug enough so the water bar doesn't spin on you. What we're going to do is re-hook up your hoses to the rain barrel. So this is the one coming from your pump. So this goes to the bottom side of the barrel. This is the return side. And we're going to hook the hose up to this fitting right here. And that's where the water is going to return. Alright, so all I'm doing right now is I'm just pulling the cord out for the pump, and you can grab your transformer here. Alright, so we're going to plug it in here, and this thing right here, they changed the name. It used to be called Easy Heat. Heat it, whatever. All this is a thermostatic switch. Now, it's very important. I guess we'll go over some more details about this. But basically, your pump will plug in to this thermostatic switch. This will tell your pump when to come on and off based on temperature, and then you just plug this directly into 110 AC. Heating element also into a separate 110. And other than that, that is the assembly of the heated water system. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to fill it up with some water and test it and show how to prime it and talk about problems you may have and troubleshooting. Okay, so what we just did is we just filled the barrel all the way up from a garden hose, and what I want to do right now is show how to get your system started. So I'm going to leave this screen off for right now, but normally you would screw that back on, but we're going to pull that to show you the return here in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn the hose bib on. Now what gravity's doing is it's pushing that water down. It's going to start going naturally through the water bar, and technically inside the hose it's going to level off. Now what I want to show is how to prime the system. Alright, so let's go inside the run. Now one of the first things I like to do is I'm just checking for leaks. Hopefully nothing's leaking, and I'm not seeing anything right now, so that's a good sign. I'm going to come to the high side of the water bar. I'm just going to unscrew this for right now, and I just want to let some air out. Now I could also just undo the hose on the outside, but I don't know, I just like seeing the water come out through here first. Hear the air coming out. Well, there's quite a bit of water already in there. So that didn't take long. So we're going to go ahead and screw this back in. So that's good. That tells me we got water to there with no leaks. Let's put that back in, don't over tighten it. And the point I want to make right now is a lot of people think in order for the heated water system to work, for the chickens to drink, that it has to be plugged in. That is not true. Again, gravity is doing everything. Nothing's plugged in right now. This is just like a regular old water bar. This is perfect. Look at a little bit of the water on the bill. Loving everything I'm seeing right now. Alright, so now let's go back on the outside. Now we're gonna test the system. So again, we got water in the barrel. The gravity has already done its job. It's got the water down to the other end of the water bar. And the only other thing I could do to check is, say I didn't want to pull the nipple out, just lower this down. There's my water, okay, and and that will stop. My water inside the barrel is right about there, and that makes good sense. All right, so we got water in the line. So now what we want to do is I'm going to manually turn the pump on. Now I want to mention something. There's two thermostatic switches for this system. There's one that's built in to that heater inside the rain barrel. So all you have to do before it starts to freeze, plug this in, you're good to go. You technically can leave this plugged in year round, but it will still use a little bit of energy. So if you want to conserve, just unplug it. Just make sure you plug it in before it starts to freeze. And also I want to know all the heating elements are 1,000-watt heaters. They are safe for plastic barrels in this case. This barrel is also food safe. And it's good down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit for up to 50 gallons. So we're all set there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pump. I'm going to unplug the thermostatic switch because I don't need that, because the pump will not come on. It's a beautiful day today. All right, I'm going to pull the cord from the camera guy. All right, now I'm going to try to not talk because I really want you guys to hear this and see how this works. So I'll be honest with you, I was actually hoping it wasn't going to work that well, because if you plug in your system to test it, if that pump is really loud, it's got air in it. Now because I've already purged the system, I got all the air out just by lowering that hose. It's already primed, and then if you can get a shot in here, here's what it should look like. So if we can get a good shot of that, look at the distance of the return of the water. It actually shoots past the center with the water about, I don't know, say 6 inches down, okay? That's what it should look like. That's the flow. And hopefully maybe get a close-up shot. That's what the pump should sound like. And at this point, I would say this is a success. So what I want to do right now is explain how all this works from start to finish. So here's how the heated water system works. Now in this particular situation, when you purchase the heated water system, it only comes with the barrel, the hoses, the water bar, the heating element, and the pump. Does not come with the gutter and downspout. That's a separate application. But in this case, our customer is going to put on his own gutters. But basically, you would collect the rainwater, goes through a downspout, fills the rain barrel. Or you can do what we just did, just fill it up. From there, gravity is going to push the water down through the water bar, and that's what's going to feed the water to the water bar for the chickens. And when it's not freezing, you don't have to have anything plugged in. Now, let's say it's almost winter time. What you're going to want is to run technically a dedicated circuit. You're not supposed to use an extension cord. I have. It works for me, but just as a disclaimer, you're supposed to run a dedicated circuit. But you need 2 outlets. 15 amps is fine. You're just going to plug this directly into the outlet. All right, and that's again your heater that goes inside the barrel. And then the second thing you're going to plug in is your pump. Now again, this is another thermostatic switch. You want to plug the pump into this thermostatic switch, and then plug this in to a constant 110 AC. Now notice, again, it's probably 80 degrees right now, so it's not going to come on. But let's say it gets down to, I believe it's actually, I think it's 40 degrees Fahrenheit. No, it's 34. It'll come on at 34 degrees Fahrenheit, so that it'll turn on automatic, and it'll start to do that. It'll start to circulate the water. The water's getting heated inside the barrel. That keeps it from freezing. And then when it gets back above freezing, pump stops. Now, if you run into some problems, it's always good to understand how to troubleshoot it. So now the one problem that I've had people have is they think something's wrong with the pump because the pump's making a loud noise. There's air in the line. Guarantee it. So just make sure you get all the water, get all the air out by, in this case, just disconnect this hose and just let all that water run through it. Make sure you don't have clogs. If water's not coming through it, then you definitely have a clog. And then you can always, one way or the other, systematically troubleshoot it by disconnecting your hose, and go backwards through the system, or you can start here, make sure you got water coming out of here. If you do, put the hose back on, make sure you got water coming out of that end of the hose. If you do, put it back on the pump, so on and so forth. Just make sure you have flow. It is possible to have a blockage. So basically that is exactly how the heated water system works, and also how to assemble it.